everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Fun Artifact Friday. Today is World Literacy Day, and to celebrate, the museum is going to be showcasing some of the books in our collection. Now, just like any good bookstore, the books in our collection are lovingly cared for by the museum staff. And over time, the staff have gotten to know the books in our collection pretty well, but we all have our favorites. So today we're going to be doing a staff picks or staff favorites of the books in our collection. We're going to get started today first with Caitlin's top picks. She couldn't help herself. She picked two history-based books. Her first selection is this well-known favorite amongst the community, Lamps Forever Lit, by a local retired teacher and author, Bernie Jaworski. In the history of Kirkland Lake, mining is well documented as the bread and butter that built the community, but it didn't come without great cost. The Miners' Monument near the museum has the names of 310 individuals who perished working in the mines of Kirkland Lake, and Lamps Forever Lit is a tribute to all of those lost. So many of the miners were from overseas. They came here to work and to make better lives for their families. Some didn't even have any family in Canada. This book honors each and every individual lost by telling their story, who they are, where they came from, and how they died, ensuring that their memories live on. Now we're going to talk about Caitlin's second pick. It's a little outside the lines as it's not a fully published work yet. However, she loves it so much, she just couldn't resist. This selection is a 172-page essay by Ralph Victor Deline called The Growth and Social Development of the Township of Teck, Kirkland Lake, 1906 to 1951. This piece was written by Deline as a requirement for the completion of his master's in arts history. This document is well written, very detailed, and holds many interesting and juicy tidbits, as well as facts and figures about local history. It covers a wide range of topics impacting the growth of Kirkland Lake during its first 45 years, including ethnicities, crime rates, bootlegging, religion, and economic growth. Now we're going to move on to Sarah's top choice from the collection. Sarah chose Sir Harry Oakes, 1874 to 1943, an accumulation of notes by Bob Cohen. This was the first book from the collection that Sarah got her hands on. She had to read it carefully and make notes to become both familiar with the history of Harry and to extract information for her notes, for her virtual exhibit commemorating his murder on the 80th anniversary of his death in 2023. Sarah found that this book gave her a lot of clear information about Harry's history, his unfortunate demise, and the investigation. As a forensic biology student, Sarah was particularly interested in the case notes and was able to offer a unique perspective. This book is a beautiful hardcover that details some of his life, beginning with his search for gold, but primarily his murder and the court case that followed it. There are many beautiful black and white photos and interesting insights from the author in the pages of this book, as well as a list of resources available at the time of publication. Paula's choice from the collection is a newer acquisition called Hemingway, Hunter of Men, and it's described as the could-be-true story of the famous author's role in an unsolved wartime murder and royal intrigue. The summary on the back promises an entertaining read as it teases how the author, Ernest Hemingway, was stationed in Cuba and working as a sort of privateer for the Allies regarding the German U-boats during World War II. According to this author's suggestions, Sir Harry was rumored to be friends with a known pro-Nazi that may or may not have resulted in the murder aided by Hemingway. The chapters of the book boast titles such as Crook Factory Disbands, Flirting with Disaster, and Hemingway Goes on a Date. The author, an interesting sounding guy, is described as living in Florida after running away on his boat following a career as a reporter and editor. Great pick, Paula. Now we're going to move on to my pick from the collection, which can be found on the second floor in the research library. This book is called More Devil Than Saint, and it was written by Count Alfred de Marigny and was first published on January 1st in 1946, following the trial that investigated Sir Harry Oakes' murder. This book is an autobiography, and I find it interesting because it details his time spent in jail after his arrest when they suspected him of murdering his father-in-law, and it's all from his point of view. Something that I find intriguing is that although this book seems to be meant to show his innocence and that he was the victim, when I first read the book, I did not get that impression. In fact, even though I had not read much about the case at that point, after reading this book, I had an eerie feeling that maybe he had done it after all. After being arrested for the brutal murder of Sir Harry Oakes in the Bahamas, de Marigny was released despite continually growing evidence of his guilt, because pieces of key evidence needed to be thrown out of court due to the mishandling of the crime scene. Last but not least, we're going to move on to Kelly's collection of favorites from the collection. Being our curator, she spends a lot of time with our books in our collection, and she also sees all of the new ones coming in. Her disclaimer is that books are like children, and you should never pick favorites, or at least admit to anyone that there is a favorite. But after being asked again, she did admit to a couple more of her beloved books. Kelly's favorite non-fiction published books are the cookbooks in the collection, and by self-proclamation, she is not a foodie. She just finds it interesting to see the changes over the decades. For instance, changes in what were common ingredients and cooking instructions. For example, the change from cooking over an open campfire to inside a gas oven. She also enjoys the recipes from different cultural groups and seeing if they had to adapt any recipes based on availability of ingredients found in Canadian grocery stores. And of course, she finds it interesting seeing the cookbooks made by companies that include the intentional placement of their own products in both the ingredient list and in the glossy photos. Kelly notes that many Jell-O bowl recipes seem to make it into every cookbook from the 1950s onward. Kelly's favorite fictional published book is Famous Last Words by Canadian author Timothy Finley. This novel does a lot of name dropping of historically important people before and during World War II, including Sir Harry Oakes. All accounts are highly fictionalized, but it reads like a thriller. We do have one more work that was an honorable mention and was commented on by all of the staff, and that is our series of phone directories that is in our archival collection. They're like a hardcover time capsule. They're a great research tool because they have names and phone numbers alongside street addresses and the occupations of the household residents. They also contain information about the town, population, number of services offered, etc., and advertisements for businesses that no longer exist in town. They're one of our most utilized and beloved research tools. Thank you for tuning in, and don't forget to let us know what your favorite Kirkland Lake themed book is. We'll see you next week for another episode of Fun Artifact Friday.